Hello. It's that time. I do want to apologize in advance. I'm feeling more stuffy in the head than usual, which has been a real pain today. But I mean, I've made it this far, so part of me wants to say I'm not sick, but I certainly kind of feel sick, so guess I can't really say that. Anyway, if it wasn't obvious from the title, today I'm going to be working on that game again. Uh, I'm really still motivated to work on it. Part of the reason I'm working on the game today and not raiding, despite the fact that the plan was to raid today, is because we've unfortunately had enough people who had their schedule change that it just wasn't really economical to have all of us try to get together to raid. Um, and I don't think it's any one person's fault, right? People get tired of the game, people get new jobs, people just want to do other stuff, and that's perfectly fine. So, frankly, I was kind of mixed opinion myself before more people started coming to me saying like, uh, "Hey, I might need to," or like, "Hey, I might be interested in just like not rating for now." Um, a part of me was just like, I don't know if I'm really that interested in rating right now. Literally nothing against the people, the raid group, because I had fun with them. It was fun playing with them. We literally played some PvP yesterday, just because, and that was a good time. But yeah, it's just for a lot of people, it was a schedule thing. So I get it. Especially since I think two or three of us worked nights or had school late or whatever, and it didn't work out very well. Uh, the other thing I want to mention real quick is Pokemon. I'll probably get back into Pokemon. I'm really motivated to do this. I do want to continue doing the Nuzlocke, but I hit a rough spot in the Nuzlocke with it, which is a little annoying. And then obviously, not having the or having the game be in Japanese makes it a little harder to know what I'm doing. But anyway, I'll just suck it up and I'll probably go through the game later, especially since we're not raiding right now. I guess time will be pretty open. So probably at least one day a week I'll do some Pokemon. And the rest of it I think I'll work on the game. Where we left off, I didn't make a ton of progress, but I did get a camera that tracks the player. Um, and there was a lot that couldn't be seen. So I fixed a lot of the issues that were preventing things from showing up on the display. The stream's not exactly set up how I'd like it to be. Ideally, it would just capture the windows, but I've just got it capturing my whole desktop right now. So maybe I ought to find out a better way to do that, but that's a problem for tomorrow, I guess. Felt like I was going to say something else and then completely lost it. Well, anyway, um, I I can actually transition. So, yes, you can see we've got this beautiful, beautiful scene. We've got our objects, we've got our camera on a pivot, all that stuff. And now you should be able to see what I see when I'm testing it. So you can see the camera will pivot around the player while I move my mouse, which is great. And I made the platform big. You can't necessarily see it that well, but I am moving towards the edge in the direction of the camera. So you can see I'm just holding W here. I have to be careful not to walk off. The character moves a bit slow. But while just holding W, we move following the camera. making the character model move would probably be a good next step. But I do have some other ideas in mind first. Especially while we don't have, while I don't have a real, like a model or anything to work off of or interact with, the fact that the model doesn't spin doesn't matter too much. And the pivot stuff is probably just going to, I'm probably just going to piggyback off of that to make things like weapons or attacks. So if I do anything like that at all, it's possible I just make like an instant hitbox in front of the character based on, whatever class they are or something. One quick thing I did do off camera, like right before starting, to just kind of get my mind back into the mentality. So I increased the jump velocity a bit. It's maybe a little too high, but with increasing the jump velocity, you can now also let go of jump early to cut your jump off. It's a little, you can kind of see it since we're at the edge, but like here's me holding spacebar all the way to the top, and then here's me letting go of it early. And you can kind of do it at variable heights too. It does kind of stop you awkwardly in the air, but in a way I don't feel like that's necessarily a bad thing. I think stopping like that is decent air control. I'll see how it feels when I've actually got other movement stuff. And like actual terrain and things that you need to interact with, things that might hit your head, whatever. So, for right now, though, I think it's fine. I'm still kind of in two minds about whether or not I want to make the game 2D or 3D. But I'm kind of actually leaning more towards, or sorry, not 2D or 3D, first person or third person. I'm actually kind of leaning more towards first person, but we'll see. We'll keep it third person for now, just because it also lets us see like what's going on with the character and making sure that things are rendered correctly that way. But that's kind of it. I feel like that's enough of a preamble. I do have an idea for what I want to do immediately. And I think that is going to be making a new resource. Wow, I didn't realize there were all these resources. But yeah, so you can see it. Well, I guess you could have seen this before, but I mentioned I fixed it, so you can see the pop-up windows and stuff now. Probably not handled in the most elegant way, but I've made sure that pop-up windows shouldn't pop up. So I shouldn't get distracted by things like people coming online on games or whatever. But anyway, we're just gonna make a resource. I'm not gonna do anything special with it because I really just need it to be. I really just need it to be a simple object. Wait, am I not allowed to? Oh. What was I thinking of? I think a resource is what I want. Basically, what I'm going to do is... Oh, you know what? I think I want to make a script. Hold on. I need to look this up. Because I thought a resource was a script. Nodes give you functionality. Resources are data containers. They don't do anything on their own. Instead, nodes use data containers in resources. Or use the data contained in resources. Okay. So, I think that means... that like, okay. So I think we would have a stats.godot script, and the player script will take that stats script. This one's going to be very simple. I need to figure out how to declare variables again. Basically, what we're going to use this for is to highlight some stats for the player. We're actually going to... Oh, I set the jump velocity to 10. We can set that lower. I need to figure out how to... Is it picking up my keyboard? No, it's not. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to have a bunch of stats. I can open this right now, and I can show you. So what I'm thinking is we'll need a couple stats for HP. Nope. We'll need a couple stats for attack. Need a couple stats for knockback. Need a couple stats for speed. I'm going to set this one here. We'll need a couple stats for attack speed. Oh, you can't use dashes. You'd have to use underscore. Whatever, that's fine. And then we could also have the jump velocity here and jump count, something like that. The idea being players will be able to upgrade their characters throughout a match. So we'll need certain variables with that. So instead of just an HP, we'll have a base HP. That will matter in the case of, say, we could have different classes have different HP. So like a warrior or a knight, whatever, it could have different HP from a wizard, right? Wizard might have like 75 base HP, while a knight might have 125 or something. I don't know. We'll have a current HP. Also forgot, this needs to be an underscore. We will have a max HP. And lastly, we will have a modifier variable for HP. This one, I think, will be an array. And the idea is it will take the... So if you think about it this way, let's say, right, you get different upgrades in different orders. So like you might get something that doubles your attack. Then you get something that adds 10 to your attack. Then you get something that doubles your attack again. Then you get something that, I don't know, makes every hit of your attack do, an extra 2 damage. Whatever, right? I'm thinking all of those upgrades would get put into an... if you just did the math right as it's listed like that, then you would, if their base attack was 10, you would go from 10 attack to 20 attack to 10 might not be the best number because we're okay. So we'll use 5, right? So you'd go from 5 attack to 10 attack by doubling it. Then you'd go from 10 attack to 20 attack by adding 10. Then you'd go from 20 attack to 40 attack. By multiplying it again. And then you'd go from 40 attack to 42 attack by adding the +2. And I think that's fine, but like, let's say you keep stacking upgrades. When you start multiplying the multiplied, I guess what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is I'd rather the stuff be multiplied consistently in a way that makes sense. So my thought process was, if I put all of the modifiers you have into an array, then anytime you get a new modifier, your max and current HP, things like your max HP, your attack, your knockback, things like that, math could be done as whenever you get an upgrade to update those values based on everything that's in that array. So like, let's say you've got a +10, a +2, and then 2 times 2 damage things, and your base attack is 5. Then what it would be is you have the 5 base attack, you add the +10 and the +2, you'll do the addition first, and then you'll do a ×2 and a ×2. This does lead to higher attack in the short term, but I think it makes additive. So like in this case, it would be 17 times 4. So when we were originally left with 42, we're now left with 60 something. 68. Which is more. It's quite a bit more. But in the case of HP, or I guess in the case of like any flat upgrade, it tends to make those. Well, I guess it kind of makes every upgrade better, right? Because it's optimally applying them. Now, obviously, we don't have to go handing out. We don't have to go handing out, ×2 damage multipliers willy-nilly. But you can also think of it in the case of like negative multipliers. I guess those also get multiplied. I don't know. I think it makes it more reliable, because if you get a bunch of HP multiplier things, if you get a bunch of things that increase your HP by a percentage, then if your base HP is 100, getting 2 130% upgrades would set your HP to 160%. Instead of, oh, that's another thing. If I have a in the case that I have an upgrade array that's applied, the upgrade array would add all the multiplier values together, and then it would multiply the base. It would add the base and the additive multipliers, and then multiply all of that by the multiplicative multipliers or modifiers, I guess, whatever. So in the case of the 1.3 example, if we did, I'll even pull out the calculator for this so it's more obvious, right? So if we did 100 base HP times 1.3, we get 130. If we multiply that again by 1.3, we've got 169. Because it's not the base 100 that's increased, it's the base 130. So HP scales a lot, or I guess everything scales a lot faster when you're just multiplying that current value, which can lead to funny instances where it's like your damage has skyrocketed. For example, if your attack, it's just like, okay, well, but it makes like flat values a lot more punishing when you get them if you've already grabbed like multipliers first, because then the multipliers don't do much. So in the case of taking an array and doing all the math from the things in the array and then applying that to be your max. If you start with a base 100 HP, then you would multiply it by 1.3 plus. Well, I guess this is not the greatest way of showing it, but you'd get an extra. All right, here. It'd be, you'd start with your 100 base, and then you'd multiply that by 1 plus your 0.3 multiplier plus your 0.3 extra multiplier. So you're left with 160. It scales a little worse, but in the case that you add anything extra, it feels better. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I think it makes the math more consistent. I like it that way. That's at least the plan for now. However, implementing it might be another thing entirely, but we'll stick with that for the plan for the time being. So all of that was to say we would have an attack current. Oh, well, actually, we'd have an attack base and an attack current and an attack modifiers. Same with attack speed. Just copy this. Same with knockback. We'd have a knockback base. The reason we're doing knockback is because there will be a lot of physics involved in the game, right? I would like stuff to be able to knock players back. So, you know, I don't know. I think that's fair. While player objects can't directly interact with, like, they don't really have physics applied to them in the same way, I think you could still do knockback. Excuse me. If you already know the, if you get the speed of the, or I guess the velocity is a better way of putting it, of the projectile or hitbox or whatever, I guess you'd get the velocity of the projectile to find the direction. Otherwise, you'd just do you just cast a ray from character to character of where the knockback should be. And then that player would get a velocity attached to them that affects the direction they're going. I'm not entirely sure how I'll handle that, but that is the plan. Var knockback current. Honestly, I might just type out knockback. While that's a little more tedious, it will make auto-completing things easier, I think. Do I want to type out attack? I think ATK makes sense as attack, and I'm not typing out health points. I think HP is fine. But like speed doesn't really have a good shorthand. Anyway, speed base. Oh, I also need knockback modifiers. I'm just declaring the variables right now. I'm gonna set base values for them in a second. But the idea is that a player will be able to use these base values, and then that's kind of like they'd be loaded in. HP, for example, would be updated whenever an attack projectile collides with the player model. I'm using projectile kind of loosely because I'm counting melee. I guess anytime an enemy hitbox that's not their body enters your hitbox or touches your hitbox, then boom, you get affected by the attack and you lose HP. I'll probably try to keep attack values somewhat relative to HP values, since I don't want to have to think about like like a defense stat, there's not really a point in my opinion. Like if you're gonna increase, like if you've got like a plated armor type thing, it would just increase your health. I don't see a reason. I don't see a reason to like. I do see a reason to decrease the damage you take, but I think it's like fake tankiness. I don't know. You could just double HP if you really want to have all damage from damage sources, but I don't know. It's a little different. I get it, but I think the game would do fine without defense. Maybe from playtesting, we could be like, okay, maybe players do need defense. It's not like defense itself would be super hard to code in, because it's kind of an invisible stat, right? You just calculate, okay, this person does damage to me. Just subtract that damage from their health. If they're at or below 0 HP, then they die. Defense, in a way, could just plug itself into that, and it's like, okay, did they get hit by an attack? And before you subtract the HP, I don't know, subtract the value from defense first, then subtract the remainder from HP. It could be done very much like the attack modifiers, in a way where you've got, like, you could have flat, whatever. I don't know. I'm not even making a defense. I don't need to talk about how I might implement a defense if I'm like do it right now. In the case of speed, I think it also makes sense to treat it like this kind of a stat, because you could have stuff that increases your speed. Maybe it makes you like have less HP, but you move faster. Maybe, I don't know. But that could be the case. And jump count, I think, also makes sense to have as a variable, because, I don't know, maybe you could have players get a second jump. I don't know if I want people stacking 100 jumps, but at the same time, it's like, if they're dying a bunch, they've got to hit the ground at some point, and you probably only get so many upgrades. So I don't know if it really... I don't know if it really matters. One thing that, well, that's far from the case, so I'm not even going to bother talking about that yet. So we've got the variables declared. Now I actually need to use the resources. Now what I need to do is actually implement them. Creating a custom resource class. Create a script that extends the base resource class. Oh. So what we're gonna do is, we'll do, okay, extends resource. Oh, and we can even give it a class name. I forgot about that. Class name, we'll name it stats. There's not gonna be any like special weapon equips or anything, and I guess we could have presets for stats. Well, actually, that could just be modifiers, right? Which I guess we will need to include. We will need a var class. I can't do class is a keyword. Var. Trying to think of a generic RPG class name that's not a class. Like a job, I guess? I don't know. We can just do player class, I guess. That's fine. Exporting variables is not exclusive. Works with any script to specify scene-specific values. I don't know if I necessarily want them to be scene specific. Okay, we can specify the value type. So we can do that. We'll probably just make everything an int, except I think I'll make HP a float. Is that the correct way to define it? I thought this was. When was this document written up? Do they have a date at the top? It was posted over a year ago, so maybe it doesn't follow the same formatting. Expected a variable name after var. So that doesn't work. Can I declare it as an int? How do I... Alright, how do I declare a variable type? I mean, that was saying it was... Okay, wait, here's docs. Oh, it's just the problem was that I had capitalized the I in int. Yeah, okay. I guess I don't even need to set values for these yet. I can just copy this and paste, because I don't necessarily need to know what the value is at the current moment. Though I am going to... Okay, this actually needs to be an array of thing. Though I probably won't do an array of integers for the modifiers. Jump velocity will make a float, because it kind of already is a float. Jump count will be an int, because it'd be weird to have 2.1 jumps. And this will also be an array. I think this should be an array of floats. Float, in case you don't know, is short for floating point number. Basically, decimals. I think this should be an array of floats, because it's very easy to say, you know, oh, you get plus 10 attack. But if you're doing a multiplier, if you're doing integer multipliers, the numbers would have to be really high for multipliers to only have int multipliers, right? Because then you'd have times 1, times 2, times 3, times 4. Doesn't exactly work out very well. You tend to get really big really fast, so not ideal. Instead, we could do multiplier of times 1.1, times 1.5, times, 1.25, whatever. So having them be floats makes more sense. And it will be an array. Ooh, actually, because if they're all floats, the question would be, how do you determine whether or not it is can you make, hold on. The question is, can I do a map? Okay, of course. I look up a map and it gives me like tile editor, which is not really what I want. There is a programming language called Go. I'm using this as an example. I'm not saying it's the only one that does this. Or you can use a thing called a map. Basically, what that does is instead of just being an array of floats, in my case, right? So you'd have like 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, right? And they'd all just be that. You could have a map of you could have a map of well, I guess I'm trying to think how a map would help me in this case. A map is basically just like a more diverse structure than an array. You can kind of think of it as of an array, but like an array of arrays almost. So in one case, like let's say you had a well, actually, yeah, this is one way you could do it. You could have a map of like a modifier type and the float value. So that's two variables. So basically, every index in an array has two values, and that's what type of thing you have and the actual value of it. So if it's additive, then you would just take that value and add all the additive values together. If it was multiplicative, you could take all the multiplicative values and add them together, and then you could multiply the additive values by the multiplicative values. That would, the rest of that stuff, right, is stuff I'm doing later. But the map would allow me to say, okay, well, I have, modifier type, comma, float. So everything could be stored as a float, but I'd know, okay, these things are actually the additive values, additive modifiers that I need to add. But actually, okay, I'm gonna look up array of arrays. Because maybe somebody would say, arrays can be nested. You can have an array as an element in another array. Is anyone saying with a dictionary using an array or vector key? Alternatively, you use for loops. Yeah. So somebody's just saying, yeah, okay, you can. A dictionary, I guess, is a good way of putting it. Because then basically you can define a thing. You can define like a key value, and then you could have an array of that dictionary object. So you could have attack modifier, or you could have attack modifier value and attack modifier type. And then you could have attack modifiers as an array of that that type and value. So we could do something like var HP mod type. And that could be, we'll just say a string. That's fine. And then var HP mod value. And this would be a float. Then HP modifiers would be an array of, actually, but I need two. Wait, can I actually just... I think I can declare this in a simpler way. So HP modifier, singular, could be defined as a string and a float, I think. I don't know if this works. I guess I can't define them, like I can't typecast them, I guess, in that way. Yeah, this is definitely the best way to do it. I'm just doing it slightly wrong, so I'm trying to find the syntax of it. Question is, can I just make a generic definition? Or I guess maybe in a wait, maybe I can do... So what's the best way to do this? Let's see, somebody else is asking an array of dictionaries. That's not exactly what I'm looking for. This is somebody using... Find a property in an array of dictionaries. Let's see. Each player is a dictionary. Interpolate the position properties of the player. This is not exactly what I'm looking for. Maybe I feel like I'm overcomplicating how I'm thinking about this. So we want an HP modifier value. Oh, you know what? This could be something that matters later, because I'm not actually going to worry about modifying stats just yet. So this could be a problem for later, another day. Instead, for now, we can just define our stuff. Our player class, this will just be a string. Should be fine. Because basically with that name, we could set, right, the first time the player loads, we could set those base values. And then go off of there. So, we now have a very basic stat spread of a character. It only took 45 minutes. No, I'm joking. I'm not really beating myself up over the time it takes, because stuff like this can take a while. Okay, we do need some functions, though. So in our case, I don't know if I need to declare getters and setters, like basic just. I guess I would. I guess I would need to. So I guess func get player class. Yeah. This would be very simple. It'd just be return player class. It's very simple. And that's going to be a lot of these getters. The reason we need getters is, let's say we want to draw HP bars. Well, if we want to know how much HP we need to render, we would need to get the player's HP, or I guess get HP current of the player. If we want to know how much damage an attack is going to do, we'd have to get the attack current of that attack. If we want to know how far to knock back a player, we'd have to get knockback current. You know, things like that. So we're going to need a lot of these, it seems. I guess I need to ask, do I need to get everything? I guess it depends on how much of it is just... Hold on. Do I even need this at all? Because it's possible that something that inherits this... Well, okay, yeah. So, sorry, that is a slight... I don't need a getter for everything. You would need a getter in the case that you have an object that doesn't inherit these stats. So, for example, you would need to get knockback and damage in the case that you are attacking a physics box, I guess, because you would need to know how far to knock it back. Right? If the attack does a lot of damage, then, well, you know, you need to increase the knockback, but or like if it has just a high knockback built into it or whatever. I want to see what. Actually, I'm gonna look this up just to make sure I'm not, you know, crazy. Let's see. What are people saying about setters and getters? If you work alone, then you can do whatever you like. In your part of team, you should follow the good code standards. I start with just changing the variable value directly and only implementing a set get if I need to trigger some extra actions that are not handled elsewhere. In your example, changing a player's position, then I wouldn't use a setter. Yeah, so those things are handled by physics. Yeah, okay. Well, that person just misunderstood the... Well, maybe not. I don't know. Or is that just a different way? Oh, that is just a... You can use them for classes that share the exact same data. Okay, so you can have a... In this example, they're using a character list. And saying... that character data... Uh, um, yeah, I guess the idea is that with setters and getters set, then you can do private variables, right? Otherwise, you just have to have the variables public so that you can use them whenever. And that doesn't seem like the greatest idea. But it seems like definitions for classes are somewhat... Well, maybe I had it wrong. I haven't seen this syntax. But they're saying I could do something like var HP current float, and then do something here like get turn HP current. And then I could do like set value HP I need to do something with the value, so I guess this doesn't necessarily make sense. Oh no, well you could just do HP current plus value. Right, because in this case it'd be we do all the math or whatever to get the value that we should change the current health to. And then like, okay, if they need to take damage, you'd add negative 40 health to their current health, so they take 40 damage. But that's interesting. I didn't realize you could define them that way, but I kind of like that. I think this is a pretty easy way of defining getters and setters. And then it doesn't require a bunch of functions underneath that's just get this thing. Which means I could also just do like that. I don't know. Seems like it makes sense to me. If I do it like this in Godot 4, I will stack overflow. Godot set get with export. I'm wondering where they found this example. Because this basically just lets you define a thing and some basic functions underneath it. Though I wonder if that just works with set and get. Um, I'm wondering Oh, I guess in this case, yeah, this would be, no, I guess we would just say HP current equals value. Because we're saying, well, okay, so I guess it depends how you're phrasing it. Because if you want to do damage, then you would take the damage value and apply that to their HP. Maybe we don't even need a setter for... Well, no, I guess it doesn't really make sense. We don't want to set the current health. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so in this case, this right here is saying, okay, set the current HP to whatever the value you've given to the function. The other one I had it was add that value. Well, I also wrote it wrong. But I could do something like this and say, but this would be more like a do damage function. So if I wanted to set current HP, right, like let's say I'm at the beginning of a game. Why would I set, well, so let's say we start a new round. We'd want to set everybody's HP to their max HP. Why, if somebody ended the round dead, then I could just add their max HP to their current HP. And this would work. But if somebody lived with half HP, then I can't just add their max HP. I would need to do some other stuff. This function, this setter wouldn't work. So I'd need to set it some other way. So instead, I should just set the HP to this value because it works better from like a restarting perspective. And in my case, something like restarting is going to be a lot. And I can have a very simple system for doing damage. Additionally, I could just have, right, so like when somebody gets hit, it will probably call a function, right? Because we'll need to determine how they get knocked back. We'll need to determine how much damage they take. Things like that. I'd need a function there anyway, and so what's one more call to, get their current HP? And then, right, I can already get their current HP, so I'd just say, okay, well, set HP current to HP to get HP current minus value or whatever. Yeah, so this makes sense. But then I can basically do that for all of them, I think. We won't do this for current, we'll do HP max. Not HP map. I'm not going to worry about doing getters and setters for the modifiers just yet. I think that will be a bit of wasted time. And the reason for that is I would need to worry about properly indexing through the array, and I don't even know exactly if it's going to stay just as an array of whatever. So I'm just not going to worry about it. I guess we should also set this to set value player class to value. Boom. Seems pretty simple. I guess one thing we'd never want to do is have max HP go below 0. So we're going to change this one a little bit. So we already have max HP just from being the max HP. So we're going to say so this is going to be indented. We're going to say if HP max if HP max plus values plus value is less than I guess 1.0, then HP max would be equal to 1.0. Is there a way that I can negate this? Because ideally you just want it to be you just want it to be as simple as possible and not. Well, I guess we're just doing an if else. Let me actually do this, indent that. Part of me feels like I kind of like the look of this a little better, but it is just a one-liner, so I don't really see a point. I guess we'll just do less than or equal to. It's fine. Else HP max equals value. This is just saying don't let the value go below 1. I think that's pretty reasonable. Especially if 100 HP is the base, it would take a lot of things that, like, have your HP or give you negative HP values to let that happen. So much so that I don't know if it would ever come up. But I would like the game to be moddable, and let's say people just have a lot of fun, making upgrades where the only detriment is that it subtracts 99 health from you. Well, at this point, I'm already so far down in health that I might as well take the upgrade that does nothing to my health, but doubles my damage, I guess. I don't know. So, anyway, I think that this makes sense unless my logic is dumb. So set value. If Oh, you know what? No, we don't even need to do HP max plus value. We just say if value is less than 1, then HP max is 1. Otherwise, HP max is value. Right, because we do the math to see, like, okay, well, what should their max HP be after we do these modifiers? Oh, is that value supposed to be 0? Well, you can't exactly play at 0 HP, because you either die instantly or you're invincible, because you can't take damage and nothing will kill you. So just set it to 1. Otherwise, set it to the value. But all right. So that makes sense. That looks good. I guess in the case of attack multipliers and I guess everything should be floats then, shouldn't it? Well, just let me. All right. Just replace all of them. I think it probably just makes more sense if they're floats. Right, so in the case you multiply something by 0.25 and then you whatever, it shouldn't really get that nitty gritty, especially since we're adding multipliers together, not multiplying multipliers together. Though, I guess if I wanted to get really crazy, I could multiply multipliers together. Anyway. So we're going to... I did not copy everything I needed to. Unexpected indent. Oh, yeah. My bad. I did actually copy everything I needed to. Tac base. Set value. Tac base to value. Okay. With these, there won't be anything ever that like influences the base. I guess maybe besides player class. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the semicolons kind of in the middle, just floating there. I know this is like a very minor gripe, but it bothers me, especially since I don't like doing it on a keyboard. It makes more sense to me if the colon is just at the end. Oops. And I think it just looks better. Maybe that's just me. Okay, do this. Just do it everywhere. I guess if I start from the bottom. Okay, and I don't... One thing I really hate about... This is a very minor gripe, but I am going to complain about it because it comes up at work too, since I do programming for a living. When you have something that is underlined, like attack base here, and you double click it, it highlights everything. Attack underscore base. If I have attack dash base and I double click it, it'll only highlight base. That's what I want. I only want to highlight base, but I have to use an underscore, which highlights everything. And it's really annoying because I just want to highlight the one word without having to shift mouse over whatever, or you shift and menu over to the thing, highlight every character that way. Additionally, you can use control and arrow keys to like skip through things. But since this all counts as one word, it skips over the entire thing, which is really annoying. I don't want that. If these were dashes instead, then control would just go to the dash, and it's perfect. But we don't live in a perfect society, unfortunately. It's also a little annoying. The reason this nitpick kind of matters to me, and it's not just like a, oh, why don't you just use your mouse, is because when I'm doing something like this, where I have 20 variables that I need to change the name of, it's annoying to highlight the thing and get the mousing correctly just to make these like tiny movements. I don't know, it's annoying. Plus, if I ever make a mistake like that, I have to go back to the keyboard with my right hand. I don't really, like, if I'm going to use the keyboard and mouse, I want to use the keyboard and mouse. If I'm going to do two hands on the keyboard, ideally I use two hands on the keyboard. That's why I'd like everything to be accessible from keyboard and mouse, right? Because I'm typically using a mouse when adjusting these kinds of things. The double click and only highlighting specific parts of the entire word is a lot of control that I really like. I like to be able to double click and just highlight the part of the phrase that I want to change. I'd like to be able to double click count here and just highlight count, but instead double clicking count does the entirety of jump count, which is less control, meaning I have to hold down click to highlight the entire thing, to control C and then control V it somewhere else. I don't know. It's a little silly, but whatever. I think in the case of some of these setters, I do want to do similar set equations to what I did here. In the case that, like, let's say there's ever some negative status or something that could be applied to a character, right? Like, let's say you get hit with a debilitating poison that halves your attack. If somehow that affects stacks, you would never want the attack to go negative. You'd never want your knockback to go negative, or your speed, or your jump height, or your jump count, or whatever. So I think it makes sense to set some of these setters as those lock-in values. Just like, okay, it can't go below this value. So we're going to do that. HP current, it doesn't matter. HP base, it shouldn't matter. Attack base, it shouldn't matter. But I guess we'll see, right? I mean, it's my hubris speaking. If value, in this case, am I okay with people doing 0 damage? Probably not. You know what? Whatever. Who cares? We'll figure it out. Right, you could just be debilitated to the point where you can't do any damage for the time being. I think that's okay. Plus, that could be a viable, like, debuff, I guess. I don't know, let's say you, silence somebody, I don't know. Well, silence would stop them from attacking altogether. Which could be a thing. If you silence somebody, then you could remove their attack speed, right? Setting their attack speed to 0. Boom. There you go, you've just effectively silenced somebody. So if the value is less than or equal to 0, set it to 0. I don't even know how a negative attack speed would work. So I'm just not really gonna question it. But just cap it at 0 anyway. Again, I'm not really worried about the base value, so I'm just not gonna set it. Hey, look at that. A situation where being able to double click here actually kind of mattered. Good for me. Anyway. I guess in this case, it's slightly useful. I take back some of my criticisms. Jump velocity, I don't think we'd ever want to be negative. So we're going to update that. As well as jump count, I don't really see a reason to... I don't really see a reason to make it so that somebody loses jump count. Well... So here's the thing. If you want somebody to be unable to jump... Actually, no, this doesn't work. initially I was going to say, oh, if you want somebody to be able to be unable to jump, you could just set their jump velocity to 0. But let's say that you can't jump. You lose the ability somehow, some way, right? Maybe something keeps you on the ground. You got glued, right? Whatever the reason. If your jump velocity is 0, let's go look at our player function. We just set the player's y velocity to the jump velocity, which would mean their y velocity gets set to 0. So they don't get a jump, but they get to hover in the air. They get like a kind of bump, I guess. So we don't want that. Meaning there could be a case where somebody is in the air and their jump velocity gets set to 0. Okay, that's fine. But we'd also want to be able to set their jump count, otherwise, I don't know, you could have weird instances like that. Well, you could have weird instances like that whether or not you can set the jump count. But just being able to set jump velocity doesn't mean you like stop somebody from being able to jump, I guess, if that makes sense. It might not make sense, but that's fine. We'll make it so that you can set jump count as well. Or we'll make it so that you limit the jump count at 0. We're not going to do anything funny with the... We're not going to do anything funny with the jump count. So I'm just going to keep it an int. Otherwise, I think everything else looks pretty good. And we've set ourselves some variables. I will actually be right back. I really need to use the restroom, so give me just a sec. All right, I'm back. So, we've got our getters and setters. Yippee. Now what? Well, I'm thinking it'd probably be pretty useful if we can use these stats. Right? That might be. It might be kind of useful. So, Let me see. How do I actually use these bad boys? Oh, I just realized, like, anytime I adjust my mic, I need to mute my microphone. Otherwise, it's going to make a lot of noise. So I apologize about that. I'll try to be better about doing that. I need, like, a mute button on OBS. Okay, now that you've set up your custom resource class, you can use it. 2 ways to create a new resource. I've already created the resource. Oh, not bad. Okay, so we've added our resource. Oh, but why is theirs visible and mine's not? And that's because they export it. So what we're going to do is we're going to... We only want to export specific things, is what it seems. Right, so you'd want to export current HP. I guess we'd want to export a lot of them. Maybe we'd want to export all of them? Right now, I'll just start with exporting all of them. Right, I went through all of this effort of setting up getters and setters only to just make everything public by exporting them. I think that makes sense. You can kind of see the right side's already filling up with our stuff. Right, we're just going to have a bunch of stuff. I'm actually not going to make these public just yet. I don't really... I'm not doing anything with them anyway, so I'm just not going to bother right now, and I don't want to look at them. So we got a bunch of values. Cool. So now that we've got that, now we can load and reference our resource. Coolio. That's awesome. 4 different ways you can do this. The guide will be going over 3 of them. The way I usually find myself loading resources is by adding an export variable in the class that needs it. Just like when you make a custom resource, this is good to source the variable as a property in the inspector doc when the class is selected. This allows you to quickly define and update the resource it references. So what we're saying is go in here, basically, and do at export var stats what did I name this class? Stats. Cool. So it doesn't seem to let me add a stat to it. I feel like I'm misunderstanding something that this person posted, which is possible. I won't deny that. I feel like I'm missing something. Okay, okay, I actually found a video that I had seen earlier, I think. I'm gonna try to... Alright, let's see. Yeah, so right now I'm trying to see just how to... Um, is this them actually using the resource? Because I feel like I should be able to, on the player, see the resource. Oh, yes, I can. Ah, but I can't actually see any of the stats. I would have to export them. Maybe. No, doesn't seem like it. Okay, so just because I didn't hear... Oh. Oh, no, I can open it, of course. That makes more sense. So I could do whatever I want to these. Okay, so I was a bit smarter than I thought. So I have the stats. Now we can actually do something with them. So we could say speed is equal to stats dot speed current. Well, actually, we don't even need that. We're going to get rid of that. Then these things are going to complain. We need to do stats dot speed current. Boom. We have moved the variable from... we've moved the variable from this page to our stats page. Additionally, if we test it right now, we won't be able to move because our thing is not set. So I'm actually going to increase this value to like double the speed. Apparently up and down set those. Okay, well, I can't copy... Oh, no, I can. I just did it wrong. We'll do a similar thing with jump velocity. We'll set this to 6.0. We'll set jump count to 1, though we're not actually referencing it yet. So Doesn't really matter. But let's get rid of jump velocity. And where does that leave us? Velocity equal to stats dot jump velocity. Boom. Honestly, I think we're going to change how the jump works in just a second, but let's make sure that the script is still working as intended. So I can still jump, and I can still short jump as well. And we're still moving in the direction of the mouse. I am moving a lot faster. Ooh. And we fell off. That's fine. Following files are new. There's no file. Whatever. I think, personally... Okay, actually, let's go to our 3D scene here real quick. We're going to add another CSG box. Gonna make a really simple one. CSG box 3D. We'll just put it up here. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that does work like that. Though I can't just do G to grab. Actually, we can set the position in a better way than that. So let's make this, I don't know, 5 by 5 by 5. It's a big box, but that's fine. And let's move it, I don't know, 10 that way, 10 that way. And we'll move it up 2. It's fine. So I guess it's more accurately 4 by 4. I think we need to set... we can set the material here. What color is this? It's just gray. 53, 53, 53. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's set this material. Mission? No, it's not a mission. What am I thinking of? Albedo. 53, 53, 53. Cool. The last one didn't register yet. Why do they look different? Oh, because the... Why do they look so different? Hex value is 88888. What? There we go. Okay. Now we'll try it. Do I have collision with this object? Not yet. That's fine. There's one other thing I need to change, which is... Oh, where is it? Use collision. And I said it. Okay, cool. Now we collide with it. I do not jump high enough to get up on that thing. That's fine. So, what happened? Let me click the smaller box. Okay. So, instead of that, don't need all that showing. Thank you. I need to move my mic. I'm slouching. Anyway, instead of all that, let's not have this go all the way up, I guess. Oh, we barely can jump on top of it. Since there's nothing there. I'm surprised with the jump velocity of 6 that we can barely make it. And even then, it's because we're pushing our character up. They're actually clipping through the thing. It's because of their pill-shaped body. You can kind of see it better on this side. If I jump fully, you can see the corner clipped through the box, which is fine. I mean, I'm just using it to test collision. Please stop popping up. I really don't care. I am going to make it a slightly different color in that case, just because it'll be easier to see the box that way. You know what, we'll make this like... We'll make it 186, I guess. Slightly more blue. I don't know why I put it behind me. Okay, but cool. So now we can clearly see a difference between the box. Nice. Ignore the changes. Maybe it's because I had another window open and I clicked like beside the window. No, that's not it. So never mind. I don't know. I don't know why that's popping up like that. But I am going to make this -10Z because it's a little annoying to me that I have to turn my camera all the way around before I see the box. Cool. Ignore external changes. I didn't actually close the window. We'll add another CSG box. This one we'll make 10 by 2 by 10. Actually, I guess... Hold on, I'm going to delete this one and just duplicate this one, I guess. Instead, this one will be 2. And we'll move it, I guess, -5. Okay, something like that. Yeah, there we go. Now we have steps to jump up. Just simple little geometry. Okay. Anyway, we know that our stats worked. One thing I would like to do is generate like a UI of some kind. I don't really know how to do that, but it would be the simplest way. Well, I guess there's not really a simple way to do this, because now that I think about it, I need things like health, and we can just literally just flat display our stats, which is fine. But I'll need that to follow the camera. Okay. Heads up display. Canvas layer. Lets you draw UI elements on a layer above the rest of the game so that information it displays isn't covered up by any game elements like the player or mobs. Interesting. That's actually pretty neat. And it's exactly what I'm looking for. Because we can have it just literally display our stats. Additionally, I'm wondering, let's say this was a first-person game. I know what TF2 does is it will draw the 3D model of the weapon on your HUD, basically. Like it's a separate 3D model, and it's only visible to you. So, we could end up doing something similar if we make it a first-person game, where we only draw the, like, right, because you'd want the player to be able to see their weapon. You want them to feel in character, so you draw them holding their weapon. But you'd want to be able to, not have that show for some other people, right? Like, you wouldn't want to see the HUD of somebody else But that's a problem for when we actually implement multiplayer of some kind. For now, this seems like what I want. So it's saying make a whole new scene for it. I guess that makes sense. So make a new scene. Other node. Canvas layer. What does this say? Can I not make this bigger? Whatever. Canvas item derived nodes that are directed or that are direct or indirect children of a canvas layer will be drawn in that layer. The layer is a numeric index that defines the draw order. The default 2D scene renders with an index 0, so a canvas layer with index -1 will be drawn below. A canvas layer with index 1 will be drawn above. The order will hold regardless of the canvas item.z z index of the nodes within each layer. Canvas layers can be hidden, and they can also optionally follow the viewport. This makes them useful for HUDs like health bar overlays on layer 1 and higher, or backgrounds, layers -1 and lower. Embedded windows are placed on layer 1024. Canvas items are on layer 1025 and higher appear in front of embedded windows. Each canvas layer is drawn upon a specific viewport and cannot be shared between multiple viewports. Okay, this is perfect, actually. That's exactly what you'd want, right? Because each player has their own viewport. You wouldn't want other people to see that. When using multiple viewports, for example, in a split-screen game, you need to create an individual canvas layer for each viewport you want it to be drawn on. Interesting. But I guess also kind of expected based on how I was describing it. But this is exactly what I was thinking. They specify split-screen game. I guess it's because the idea is, oh, it's like the same screen, so you'd only render it once, but they're saying, no, you have to render it multiple times. Whereas, like, in an online game, it's like, oh, it makes sense that you'd only render it once per... Like, you have to render it multiple times, because once per person, or whatever. Okay, so we've got a canvas layer. Canvas layer node lets us draw our UI elements on a layer above the rest of the game. The HUD needs to display the following information. Oh, this is just an example. Basic node for a UI element is control. To create our UI, we'll use two types of control nodes, label and button. Okay, so we create... So I can create a child's node. HUD? No, that doesn't pop up. Pop up as lowercase either. Oh, they're saying name this HUD. Which I guess, honestly, I should probably rename stuff. That's fine. It makes more sense, too, I think. So add a child node. So this is saying add a label. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're adding a specific type of control node, a label. We'll name this health. And I'm just going to copy this a few times. Can I just... Nope, I need to change the parent every time. That's too many, probably. Okay, so we'll name this attack. Name this knockback. Forgot attack speed. Fine, we can just change the order. Regular speed. And jumps. Cool. Right, this is just going to be a very basic HUD for now. Click on the score label. and type a number into the text field in the inspector. Okay. So for health, we want health. Can I make this a variable thing? Probably when it comes to score, they're going to show a different thing. Okay, so score label, message, start button, message timer. Click on score label and type a number into the text field in the inspector. The default font is small and doesn't scale well. So they're saying use a different font. We'll try their font, sure. Oh man, I wonder if I'm probably not gonna make my own font for something like this. We'll just find one that looks good. That sounds like a lot of work. I am planning on making a bunch of the stuff myself, but that seems like a lot of effort to do my own font too. Okay, load a font. Load. Oh, this is for their own. Wait, I don't see this font. Theme overrides fonts. Choose load and select Zolonium. I don't see a font. .ttf. No. No. That's it. I don't see a TTF. What? I need to import my own font. Huh. Well, I mean, okay. Do I actually? Hold on. It might be possible that I have a font downloaded still. One sec. I don't have it downloaded. RIP. I guess I'll go get a font then. Let's see. ffonts.net. They wouldn't do me wrong, would they? I'll probably get like a more robot-y looking font in the future. But for now, I'm just going to use Hey Gorgeous because I like it and it's cool. I'm kind of just staring at their fonts though. Whatever. Okay, I need to stop getting distracted. Anyway, there's no files. Why do you keep saying that a file's been modified outside of Godot? It's really annoying. I don't think I'm ready to save that just yet. So I need to move something to this folder. Oh, I didn't actually download the font. Bruh. Now I gotta scroll all the way up. Okay, so downloaded it as a zip file. If I extract it, do I get a TTF? Yes, I do. Cool. So now I don't know why I closed that window because I needed it. Now I have the TTF file. So I'm going to copy that, and then I need to go into this project, which I think I can just paste it here. Yes, now Hey Gorgeous is loaded. Boom. Font size 1. Yeah, okay. So then they're also saying go into here. Why does it keep doing this? Okay, somebody's saying you can literally delete the .godot folder, or .godot file. Oh no, the .godot folder at restarting. I mean, it is really annoying every time I make any change. There we go. Oh, I see. So this is probably the window, if I had to guess. This blue box. That's probably your viewport. Though, I guess, what FOV is it assuming? Ideally, I'd like for people to be able to change their FOV if it's especially if it's a first-person game. Why can I not see? Okay, let's cancel this. So in entities, I guess is this the thing that I'm making? Maybe. Let's save this in scripts, I guess. HUD dot. What is this thing? I'm gonna delete this and we'll see what happens. Ignore external changes. Okay, whatever. So we've got health displayed. I'm gonna make that smaller. I'm gonna make it like 32. Okay, we can do the same thing for... You know what? I should really just, now that I have health set up like this, should really just copy it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll just delete these. Actually, I guess I should wait till I've got health fully set up and then just mimic it. Because that'd probably be easier. Okay, so we've set the font size and the font type. Add the text 0. So we can do set the horizontal alignment and vertical alignment to center. Where is that? I say what they're telling me. Oh, here. That is not what I meant. I'm fine with it being in the top left for now. Though I guess actually health is typically displayed at the bottom. Which is fine. Right? I don't mind it being there. Health. That'd be annoying. Okay. The anchor presets aren't bad. Horizontal alignment, center. Vertical alignment, center. That didn't actually set those alignments. Why is that not doing anything? When active, moving control nodes changes their anchors instead of their offsets. I don't know what that means exactly. Oh, I see. What do you mean expand? This isn't doing anything to the text. Like, why is the text not... The text isn't changing where it's being rendered to. Which is a little annoying. What am I missing? The font size is still too small. Increase it to 64. Under theme overrides font sizes once you've done this. The score labels, repeat this for message and start button. Anchors. Control nodes have a position and size, but they also have anchors. Anchors define the origin, the reference points of the edge of the node. Arrange the nodes is shown below. You can drag the nodes to place them manually, or for more precise placement, use anchor presets. Score label. Add the text to 0. Which I did. I added the text health. Horizontal and a vertical alignment. Oh, so it's not even here at all. This is something else entirely. So it's clicking the wrong thing. It's on this side. Set that to center. Set that to center. Not that it really matters. I'm not really increasing that health thing at all, but the box can only be so... Okay, that's fine. Message, add the text, dodge the creeps, whatever. So what do they do? Now add this script to HUD. We want to display a message temporarily, so just get ready. So we add the following code. Also want to process what happens when the player loses. Code will show game over for 2 seconds, yada yada. Update the score. Add the code below to HUD to update the score. So I guess we're going to make a script called HUD.Godot. Okay, so func update score. Actually, so it takes in a health. And then we'll do health.text equals string.health. Okay. It's fine. Connect the pressed signal of start button, the timeout signal of message timer to the HUD node. Okay, we didn't add any buttons, so I'm not worried about adding any timers. Now that we're done creating the HUD scene, go back to main, instance the HUD scene in main. We need to connect the HUD functionality to our main script, scores a few additions to the main scene. Honestly, I might continue this next time. In the meantime, I'll have some time to think over, I guess, kind of everything that I'm want to do with the stats and stuff. I can get a better idea of what I want the HUD to look like, that kind of thing. I could import a new font, but I am getting pretty tired. It's getting kind of late, so I think I'll pass. Plus, that error message keeps popping up, and it's really bothering me. But yeah, so I appreciate you joining. I'm trying to think, since I'm not really tethered to the raid schedule now, My stream timings can probably be something a bit more normal. I'll still probably start at 8 p.m. Eastern. But I'm thinking I'll still probably do 8 to 10 or 11. Um Sorry, my throat is pretty dry. I think part of it is the fact that I've been talking into the microphone, and another part of it is that I'm sort of sick. Thankfully, my nose hasn't been super stuffy, but sometimes I'm just a leaky faucet, so I don't know. Anyway, I think because the question is, do I want to go back to? I think I want to go back to Monday, Wednesday. Well, actually, because I have stuff come up on Wednesdays, and it's not all the time, but I'd hate to cancel a stream. I guess. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that. Plus, I actually normally work out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So maybe it'd be better to just move the streams around. Like I could do like Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. That way I'm not so pressed for time. When I'm working out. I guess Fridays is kind of an exception, but at the same time I'm a little less pressed for time because I have the weekend ahead of me. Uh, so I think I'll do that. So yeah, well, the next stream will be on Tuesday. Sorry, I know it's kind of a lot of schedule changes, but anyway. The next stream will be on Tuesday, starting at 8. I think I'm leaning towards doing more programming, but at the same time, I also do want to continue the Pokemon Nuzlocke. So I'm gonna say expect Pokemon on Tuesday, and then we'll probably come back to streaming programming on Thursday and Friday. But anyway, thanks for joining. I'll be back Tuesday, and I hope to see you then. Good night.